Welcome guys. Before us we have question 4 from biology paper 2 for the 2023 for the internals. Now question 4 reads, figure 3 shows an example of an ecosystem. So what is an ecosystem in biology? So an ecosystem is just a habitat in a simple term. Now what is the habitat? The habitat is a place or area where the interaction between living organisms and non-living organisms occurs. Now, the habitat can be terrestrial. Terrestrial simply means land. So some organisms interact with non-living organisms on land. Then we also have aquatic. So aquatic, we are looking at the habitat where water is acting as the habitat. So to summarize, the ecology is just the branch of biology that tells us the relationship, or that tells us how living organisms interact with non-living organisms, or we can say it summarizes how living organisms depends on non-living organisms. So how is that we depend on that? If you look at human beings, we are living organisms, we are animals according to biology. We depend on air. So we depend on oxygen for us to survive. Oxygen is a non-living organism. Then we depend on water. We depend on the soil. Plus there are a lot of non-living organisms that makes our life to be possible. Now, away from that, if we look at the given ecosystem here, we are looking at an environment where life is possible. As we can see, we have all the necessities for life to be possible here. We have sunlight. We know the importance of sunlight. Sunlight is required by plants during the process of photosynthesis. And photosynthesis is just the process by which green plants manufacture food, and human beings cannot manufacture their own food, so we depend on food manufactured by plants. Then away from there, we have these plants doing the role that I've mentioned. Then we have land, plus we have water. So water is an abiotics. Remember, according to ecology, abiotics refer to things that are considered to be non-living organisms. Then for living organisms like plants are known as biotics. So don't forget these terms. Then in water, we have living organisms like small fish, then carnivorous fish. Now, there is a reason why they added the word carnivorous. So carnivorous, we are looking at animals that depends on other animals for food. So they are fish that depends on fish and other animals for food. So that's the difference between the two fish that we have here. So these fish may depend on plants. So this is an ecosystem that we are dealing with here. Now let's look at the first question. So the first question is, identify two non-living parts of the ecosystem in figure 3. So the first one, land. The second one, water. Even sunlight, since it's given. All these are non-living components according to this ecosystem. Now let's look at question B. From the features of the ecosystem in figure 3, name the type of ecosystem. So if you look at this ecosystem, and if you have studied ecology the way it should be studied, we are dealing with a pond. So a pond is an example of an ecosystem. So just say pond. Then we move on to question C. Explain the role played by the following in ecosystem in figure 3. Small fish. As we said, small fish may feed on plants. So we can say that to reduce the population aquatic plants. So the reason why I've added the word aquatic, so that we specify the type of plants that we are dealing with. Then carnivorous fish, will say to reduce the population of animals such as fish, snail, etc. So that is the role that we can look at if we look at carnivorous fish. So the role played by some of the organisms is all about to reduce the population. What do we mean if we say to reduce the population? Because whenever a certain population feeds on another population, the population that is fed on will reduce. So that is the role, and it's also the interaction. And we can also consider this one as a food chain, because if we look at a food chain, we look at how energy is transferred from the ultimate source, which is the sun, up to the consumer. Now we move on to question D. So under question D is, how does the sunlight in figure 3 affect the distribution of plants in the ecosystem? Number one, we'll say sunlight is the ultimate source of energy for the process of photosynthesis, which simply means that we can't have the process of photosynthesis minus the sunlight. Without photosynthesis, the plant may die out, and without plants, we cannot have life, because if you look at the process of photosynthesis, the end products are glucose. We depend on glucose, and the other product is oxygen. We know that during respiration, we need oxygen to break down the glucose so that energy is produced. So there is no work that can be done without the presence of energy. So the distribution of plants depends on how much of sunlight is in a given area. So that's a point here. So say sunlight can determine if the population of plants would be high or low. So this is how we can answer. But remember, as you are studying or as you are going through these videos, it's not about you excuse me, trying to remember the exact word and sentences that I've written. So the whole thing is about you getting the concept, then you use that concept to answer the questions in future. So you can use your own terms as long as the key points are there. So because trying to remember the exact words in let's say videos or maybe books, it's hard. That will make your school journey hard. Then for online tuitions, you can just call me on this number. And what are you waiting for? Make that decision as soon as possible. Give it a try. What if maybe you are missing out a lot? So all you just need to have is, if you are interested in joining my group, is make sure you download the Telegram app. It's there. It's free on the Play Store. Then the other thing is, just make sure that at least you have a stable network where you are. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.